Hello, welcome back. My name is Martine Séverin. I'm a commercial and lifestyle photographer, and we have been chatting about portfolio reviews. So if you missed episode 1 where we chatted about what are portfolio reviews, are they right for you, and what are the drawbacks and benefits, be sure to check out that episode. We have the link down for you below. If you missed episode 2 where we chatted about how to prepare for a portfolio review, check out the link. We also have it down below. In this episode, we're going to talk about what happens on the day itself. How do you communicate with your reviewer? How do you communicate your message? And what are the steps you need to take after your review, as well as several months down the line? All right, let's get started. You've done all your prep, you've printed your portfolio, you have your leave behinds, and you are at the review itself. Some of the things that are really important to know is that you need to arrive at your review at least 50 minutes prior to it starting. This is because you have to register for your review. The organizers need to know that you are there and that you are on time. And this is a really important time too, because as you sit down and you wait for your name to be called, you get to review the information on the person with whom you're reviewing, and you get to chat with the person who might be to your left, to your right, and maybe behind you. In addition, you get to review your talking points. And as we talked about, your talking points really are everything that you're about. They're the bullet points that you're going to use to open the conversation and to guide the conversation with your reviewer. These talking points are important because they communicate your special sauce and what you're about and why you would bring value to the person with whom you're meeting. Before we move on, let's talk about a really important thing. Yes, you're prepared. You have to be prepared. So I hope you're prepared. Secondly, you need to be on time. As I mentioned, your name will be called 15 minutes prior to the session actually starting, which means that you need to arrive 15 minutes prior. The other reason why this is important is that your spot could potentially be given away if you are late. So just keep that in mind. Another thing to consider is that once you've registered, find your seat and stay there. Don't go away. As I mentioned prior, if you aren't there, your spot may be given up. So just be sure that you really stay put and that you practice and maybe you read over your materials and that you're ready for your review. In the last video, we talked about the importance of wardrobe, that is, the importance of what it is you wear to a review. In the same vein, it's also really important the emotions that you bring to a review. You might consider letting go of your ego, and this is because when you enter a space, you have to think about the energy that you bring to your review. And say if your energy isn't what it is that it should be, or it's not a good reflection of you, that might have something to do with how your reviewer receives you, the energy that you give off, and whether or not the reviewer perceives that you would be a good fit to work with in the future. When you sit across from your reviewer, you want to say hello and how excited you are to meet with them, and then you present your book. As you present your book, you want to talk a bit about yourself. You want to say, a bit about who you are and what you're expecting to get out of the review. What I've said over the years has changed. When I first started, I would say, I'm really happy to meet with you, and out of this review, I'm looking to get a good idea of what is working in my portfolio and what isn't working. Or I would say something like, as an emerging photographer, I'm showing you my work. Can you give me a little bit of feedback about the work that I'm presenting, as well as the relevance that it might have in the marketplace? When you present your work, you want to leave room for the person to actually go through the work and give you the feedback. You don't want to rush them. 15 to 20 minutes sounds like a short amount of time, but it's also a long amount of time. You know how they say that time can contract or expand? It's so true. So when you sit down, you present your work, you want to let them do their thing. Everyone is different, so you don't want to treat every review as the same. You have to gauge the chemistry that you have with your reviewer and allow space for them to do their own thing. You've done your thing, you've prepped, and now let chemistry and the magic unfold. Don't forget to have a few questions in your back pocket. Some of these questions might be, based on my portfolio, what would you recommend I do more or less of? Not a bad question, but you want more than one question. Let's try a second. What brands or magazines or clients come to mind when you are looking at my work? Good question, right? But we are all about being very prepared. So let's think about a third question that we might ask. What is the most important thing about working with a photographer that you consider when hiring? These questions are important because, again, they communicate that you have done your research and that you are prepared for this conversation. A few bonus questions might be on the personal side. So let's say that your reviewer really likes, we talked about pizza in the last one. They really like pineapple pizza, or they really like margarita pizza, and they live in New York or they live in LA. You might ask them, hey, I noticed that you really are a big lover of pizza. What are some of your favorite pizza joints in LA? This tells them that you've done your homework, and I think that's always a good thing when people can notice that you are prepared. As the review wraps up, don't be afraid to ask for additional review. The reviewer will give you lots of critique, and you can always ask, hey, thank you so much, can I follow up with you in the future? And if you're lucky, they will share their business card, and you certainly should follow up with them and ask if you could add them to your newsletter. Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room, what to expect from the reviews and the critiques themselves. The people with whom you're meeting, they're all professionals. The reviews are going to be pretty safe. They're going to say things like, you should shoot more, code word for keep working. They might say, I would love to see more of this, code word for you should shoot more of that. They might say, you should consider shooting more men, no? This is because when I first went to a portfolio review, I didn't realize my whole portfolio was on women. I ignored 49% of the world population. Oh my God, I can't believe it. And so I went back home, I did my homework, I shot more men, and I shared that work with the people with whom I reviewed. And that's always a really good thing because you're going to get homework. People are going to tell you what they would like to see you do more of. And it's a good idea to do so because it leaves you with an opportunity to reach out. Well, an excuse, an opportunity, who knows? It gives you the opportunity to reach out again and say, thank you so much for your review. Based on what you told me, this is what I did. I would love more of your feedback. Win-win, I say. Immediately after the portfolio review, you want to send a thank you card. It could be a written thank you card in case you have their address. You could send an email. You could go on LinkedIn. Whatever works for you, you want to send a thank you note. In addition to the thank you note, you want to stay in touch. You want to add that person to your newsletter, or you want to reach out to them sporadically, say 2 or 3 times a year, where you can say, Pat, I really enjoyed chatting with you, and based on what we talked about during the reviews, here's an article in the New York Times that I thought might be right up your alley. Or you could reach out to them and say, based on your reviews, I did this and that and this project. I really am thankful for the fact that you really influenced me and gave me great critique. This is all to say that you want to be thankful in one way or another because the whole point of the reviews is to open the door to keep in touch with that person for years to come, and eventually, they might hire you or they might refer you to someone else who is looking for your exact talents. Let's talk about your notes. So in the previous episode, if you haven't seen it, go back. We talked about how important it is to code your notes. When you're at the review, you want to have your notebook or whatever it is that you keep notes in. And you want to write down what are some of the main themes or the main words that come up over and over again during your reviews. It might be that your work is airy or that you have a great gift with making sure that people come across as very natural on camera. So what you're going to do is once the reviews are over, you're going to gather your notes and you're going to input all of that information into either a Google Doc or some kind of an Excel document where you are able to write down some of the themes that come up over and over and over again. And when you have all that information in place, that's when you really kind of see what are what's the thread that weaves through all of your reviews. We all know about the bell curve, and during your review, what you're excited about and what you should be noting is what is the common, what is the average thing that everyone is saying, and that's what you want to keep in mind. So for me, that's usually whatever it is that's the average, the theme that comes up over and over again through most of my reviews. Those are the things that I pay attention to, and those are the things that end up really impacting my work in the future. That's it for now. We've come to the end. I'm so glad that you were able to join us on this little journey as we chatted about portfolio reviews. I hope that you got some really great resources and some great tips out of this series. We have created additional resources for you. Definitely look down at the description of this video where you'll be able to have access to those resources. And I hope that as you prep for your future portfolio review, that you will be able to write back and let us know how things are going and what you've learned from your own experience in attending a portfolio review. That's it for now. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Martine Séverin, and I'm signing out.